There's a phrase that people use today that, when it's used properly, can be a very useful tool for promoting unity and tolerance. It's the phrase, "That's your opinion." And again, when it's used properly to encourage people to respect each other's viewpoints, that can be a very good and appropriate thing to say to someone. But in the last 20 to 30 years or so, that phrase has actually become a way to promote and propagate a very dangerous philosophy of life. A philosophy that tries to convince people that truth is somehow relative, that there is no right and wrong, no black and white, no truth or falsehood. And that makes that phrase, "That's your opinion," dangerous, because it's a phrase that more often than not is being misused as a license to disregard the truth. And I'll tell you, when people start disregarding the truth, they expose themselves unnecessarily to danger. You know, the odd reality is our country seems to have lost sight of something in the last 20 to 30 years. It seems to have lost sight of the fact that there is a gigantic difference between personal opinion and truth. It's as if there is no longer any way to know what truth is anymore. It's as if truth is not real, that it's only how you or I or each of us perceive it. But a simple lesson in the English language is sufficient to undermine our current culture's fascination with that illusion. And it is an illusion, because here's the Merriam-Webster's dictionary definition of those two words side by side. Opinion, a belief that is stronger than an impression, but not as strong as positive knowledge. And then there's truth, the state of being the case, fact, the way things really are. So here's what that tells us. It tells us that an opinion is more than just a feeling or an impression about something, but it's less than really knowing whether something is true or not. And that's important because truth, by contrast, is the way things really are, whether your opinion happens to agree with it or not. Do you see the difference? That's why right now, if you think of Jesus Christ and being born again in terms that are similar to the ones we showed earlier in those video clips in the program, him, go, hey! Then that may very well be your feeling or your impression, or maybe even your opinion on the subject. And you, of course, are welcome to that opinion. And maybe it would even be relevant for you to know that I also used to think that people who said they were born again were fanatical or extreme or unnecessarily hung up on some imaginary religious trip. But you should also know, to have an opinion, no matter what it is a far cry from really knowing the truth. And once you do have the truth, well, there's no excuse anymore for having the wrong opinion. And that's also why when someone thinks about, for example, the questions, how does a person get to heaven? Or, what does it really mean to be born again? And they have an impression or an opinion, like the people did in those clips we showed you at the top of the show. And then someone else comes along and tells them the truth. In other words, someone else comes along and explains the way things really are. One of the silliest, most nonsensical things that the first person can say is, well, that's your opinion. Because to have an opinion and to know the truth are as different as night and day.